As we approach the new year, thankfully, optimistically, looking forward to a vast improvement, the year with its difficulties must end, and the new year with its blessings must begin. That's why we have a change of years. God created time in segments so that whatever negative happens in a given time must come to an end. A year must end. Doesn't mean good things end, because good is forever. It's only the bad that ends. The good continues. In fact, the good increases. So the fact that a year ends means everything negative must come to an end. And the fact that a new year begins means a new goodness that had never been here before is now revealed into the world. That's the idea of transitioning from the past year to the coming year. On a smaller scale, the same is true every month. The end of a month and beginning of a month. The same is true every week. The end of a week, beginning of a week. And on a micro scale, it's true every hour. So the 24 hours of the day means that there are 24 changes constantly happening, so that from hour to hour, we can be a different person. Whatever negativity existed in the past hour, that hour ends. A new hour begins, which means the evil fades and new opportunity is introduced. Talk about 7 habits of successful people. If you can make that change from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year, and sabbatical to sabbatical, you are an incredibly productive human being. Great tzaddikim are this way. So it says about Avraham, our first father, that he came in old age. He arrived at a ripe old age with all his days. Meaning, every day was a significant change. And not only the day, but the hours and the minutes. So that not a minute of his life was untapped for its potential. He lived maximally, minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, and so on. That's not expected of everyone. But what is expected of everyone, which is everyone has this ability to make annual changes. From year to year, we're different. But it's good to be conscious of it and to actually use it as a workable plan. Of course, as you get older, you get wiser, even if you don't try, even if you don't do anything. But if you do try, and you live with that awareness and with that plan, then of course the changes are much greater, much deeper, and to your own credit. So what kind of year did we have that is now coming to an end? We had a year of stunning surprises. Actually, it's been 3 years of consistent and repeated surprises. The only thing consistent and predictable was surprises. Things we could never have predicted. From week to week, the world was not the same. You woke up in the morning and it was a different world, both in the positive and in the negative. The unholy, the confusion, the destructive, chaotic elements were stunning, breathtaking, or suffocating. And the good, not as visible and not as loud, but awesome. Things that I don't know if ever existed before in the positive. And so, in one word, chaos. When life is unpredictable, when goodness is coming out in places and in ways that you never expected, when falseness and darkness and evil is coming out of places and in ways that you never expected, it's chaos. The best word to describe it. In chaos, you lose your direction. You get disoriented. You get confused. You lose your compass. You could become very fanatical in your attempt to survive. When you're frightened, you're confused, you don't have a compass, you act irrational. Like a person lost in the woods, runs in circles. I once heard an explanation for that. They tell you if you are lost someplace in the woods, stay put and let someone come and find you. But if you run seeking an escape, seeking a way out, you're just going to run in circles. Why do you run in circles? Because if you are right-handed, which means the right side of your body is dominant, then you're going to run towards the right. You're going to veer to the right constantly, and so you're going to keep making right turns. And you're going to end up going in circles towards the right. And if you're left-handed, you'll run circles towards the left because you favor one side or the other. In other words, you're not thinking objectively, you're going by instinct, and instinct takes you in circles. This was predicted in a very dramatic expression in the book of Daniel, in Daniel, where it says that in the end time, many things will be purified, clarified, and exposed. The wicked will turn out to be wicked. Many will be confused, and those who are intelligent will be the exception. It's not an exact translation. There are many commentaries on this verse. But pretty much the idea is clear. Let me read you the words exactly. Yizboraru v'yislabnu v'yitzorfu rabim. What's going to happen to people at this time is that it will be clarified, it will be purified, and the good and the evil will be separated. The wicked will be wicked, and they will not understand what's going on, but the intelligent, the wise, will understand. And at that time, the angel Michael, who is the great defender of the people of your nation, of the Jewish people, at a time of suffering, difficulty, such as has never been experienced before, that will happen at that time and those days. Your nation will survive or escape. All who are inscribed in your book, in the Torah. This is a pretty powerful description of a world in reset, a world rebooting. Everything goes haywire, everything goes crazy. No one knows which way is up, right from wrong, good from bad, safe from dangerous, healthy from unhealthy. We know nothing anymore, such as never had been in the world in history. We've had periods of history that were far more evil than this. Some of that evil persists. We have it now too, but that's not what describes our time, our generation. It is not uniquely evil. It is less evil than ever before, but it is uniquely confused like never before. And in some way, that is worse than evil, because evil you can fight. It may cost you. Every war is a tragedy, but in the end, somebody wins the war. Somebody loses the war. Wars can last for 100 years, but not forever. Whereas confusion, when you don't even know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, because you don't know good from bad. You don't know who's right because you don't know what's right. So what we see happening, since I don't know what's right, I pick a team. I pick a side of an argument or of an issue, of a debate, and that becomes my team, and whatever they do is what I accept and believe in. Because I think they're right? No, because it's my team. I had to choose a team. Can't go in two directions at the same time. So I chose a team. And I cling to it desperately, fanatically, because I don't know what's happening. I'm sinking in an ocean, a stormy ocean, and I found something to hold on to, and I don't care what it is, I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to hold on to it frantically, fanatically, irrationally. This is what's happening. When before in history was a hospital a dangerous place to be? When before in history was medicine more dangerous than poison? When before in history was education corrupting rather than enlightening? When before in history were spiritual leaders clueless as to morality? It's never happened before. This is what we've gone through in the last 4 years. One shock after another, one disappointment, one disillusionment after another, until there's no one left standing. Whatever anyone relied on, believed in, trusted is gone. On the other hand, people are so much more sensitive, so much more thoughtful. So much more aware of the emptiness of materialism, the emptiness of success, whatever that means, the horrors of celebrityhood, of hero worship. They have been the most painful disappointments. And there's more coming. Because as things start to expose, it doesn't stop until it's fully exposed. We don't even want to know. We don't want to see. And as a result, we are repelled by this. So we go to the other extreme, looking for what is true, looking for what is reliable, looking for what is godly. Because the only thing left is God himself. Not the religions that claim to represent him, not the people who claim to represent him, just him. And how in the world do we have access to just him? Well, he gave us his Torah. It's right there. He also gave us great teachers. So yes, we do have access. We can get to it. And when we hear it, and it rings with truth, especially in this time of falseness all around us, it's become much more recognizable. It stands out. It's so different. Just a little bit of truth, a little bit of honesty. Put aside the unnatural ingredients that make things false, and you're left with the truth. You don't have to create the truth. You don't have to invent the truth. Just let it be. And it is true. Truth is simple. It's not complicated. It's not highly sophisticated. It rings true. And that's recognizable to all people, regardless of how educated or uneducated. True is true everywhere. When you hear something true, no matter how smart you are, no matter how brilliant you are, no matter how capable you are of making sophisticated arguments, when you're faced with the truth, you're stripped of all of that. There's nothing you can do with truth other than acknowledge. Yeah, true is true. And if you're ignorant and you know nothing and you can't make an argument, but you hear the truth, you see the same reality, you hear the same truth as the most sophisticated And all you do is acknowledge. Yeah, true is true. Turns out that we've had the truth all along. We were never without the truth, but we painted it and we colored it and we twisted it and we perverted it and we thought we were making it better, we were making it worse. We didn't let it stand on its own because we thought we were so smart. And so we explored every possibility. We experimented with every experiment, certainly in the 60s. Nothing was for sure. Nothing was written in stone. Everything could be tried, tested, experimented with. Try it, you'll like it. That was the slogan. It was a total disaster. People settled down to what they thought was more traditional, more predictable, more reliable. They went back to work, they went back to school to find out that the workplace is inhumane, that schools don't know right from wrong, and the higher you go, the more confused you are as to morality, because nothing can be simple. You can't believe in anything. You have to rediscover the wheel on your own. And so we're left with nothing but fancy words that don't tell you anything. Is murder, rape, and kidnapping wrong? There's no simple answer. We're sophisticated people. It depends on context. Okay, so the bad news, very clear, very, very clear. Where does that leave us? It leaves us either panicked or it leaves us resolute. No more of this. I'm over the shock. Yes, I'm disillusioned, but I now know what not to trust and not to believe. The false gods have fallen. Before coming out of Egypt, Jews had to witness the collapse of every belief that the Egyptians had. The belief in the divinity of the Nile, well, it turned to blood and stank with dead fish. The belief in idols of all sorts. Each of the 10 plagues destroyed another idol. The ultimate idol, I think, was Pharaoh, and he was the firstborn. And when the firstborn started to die, that idol was gone. The final. And then Pharaoh told the Jews to leave and go serve God at Mount Sinai. So the disillusionment in our times, much worse, much deeper, much more widespread on a much bigger scale. And that leaves us really stronger, clearer, but in need of information. We now know there's only one truth. The same truth that existed 5,000 years ago is the same truth that exists today. We don't invent it. We don't discover it through personal research. It comes down to us from Sinai. God came and told us what was true and what was real, what was good, what was up and what was down. He told us what was life and what was death. Never thought we needed God to tell us that. But now we see that, yes, it was necessary. It was necessary for God to say, I place before you today a choice between life and death. Choose life. We need to be told to choose life over death. Yeah, well, first we have to know what life is. So God says, I've placed before you life and death so that you see which is which, and then you'll choose life. So the world is much more determined to do the right thing because it is so absent in our lives. And the lack of it makes us really determined. We've got to get back to what is true and real. What is true and real? Let's lay it out clearly and simply and as strongly as possible. What is true and what is real? That the world was created purposefully, not intelligently. The intelligence of nature is not a question, it's not something new. There's no argument, there's no debate. Yes, the world is a very intelligent creation. What does that mean? What does that prove? What does that do? Very little. We can marvel at the workings of a human eye. And that's it. It's not, the question is not whether creation is intelligent design. That's not the issue. The issue is, does the existence of the world serve a purpose? Was it created purposefully? Purposefully means with an end goal in mind. The world was created so that it becomes some specific kind of existence which is utopian. So the first clear conviction that we have is we exist for a reason. The Creator is not just intelligent, the Creator is purposeful. Now we need to know what that purpose is. It turns out that if we know the purpose, then we know up from down. If we're headed towards the fulfillment of the purpose, we're going up. If we're headed in the opposite direction, then we're going down. If we're going closer to that achievement, then we're being good, productive. If we're headed in the other direction, we are being bad, destructive. Do we know what that purpose is? Yes, we know what that purpose is. It's no secret. The purpose is, this is God's creation, created for his purpose, which is that the world become his kind of world with the participation and partnership of the creation itself. That the world created by God should be godly, but not because God decreed it, but because the creation itself is in harmony with God's purpose and is partnering with God in creating that utopian condition. Utopian for us? Probably. But primarily, utopian for God himself. That the earth become holier than heaven, that the lowest world become the highest world, that reality be turned on its head, where evil is easier, more tempting, more natural, effortless, and goodness is a little mysterious, demands a lot of attention, even some sacrifice. Turn that upside down. Make it so that all goodness is easy, natural, effortless. And to sin, boy, you got to work real hard, go out of your way, and even sacrifice. And nobody's going to sacrifice for sin. And so we have a world in which godliness is appealing, godliness is a pleasure, godliness is obvious, and we are functioning we're moving, dancing in step with God himself. This is God's desire. This is God's purpose. This is God's pleasure. And we get to partner with him. It's not complicated. The rest is commentary. Are we any closer to that goal today than we were a year ago? Absolutely. Absolutely. In so many ways, sin is not as tempting anymore. It's certainly not compelling. This belief that no one can get through life without sinning because sin is unavoidable, sin is irresistible, sin is in our DNA, and no, it's not true. Sin is tempting by lying. It appears to be necessary, it appears to be satisfying, but we've seen through the facade. It's not true. Sin is always disappointing. It always leaves you hungry, empty, depleted, and defeated. It's not what it claims to be. It never was. But today we see it. We see it. In subtle ways, but in ways that we never saw before. The desire to serve instead of be served is stronger today than a year ago, and a year ago it was stronger than 2 years ago. A simple question, the answer to which puts us right where we need to be. If the entire universe disappeared overnight, just gone, over, ends as mysteriously as it began, and tomorrow, well, there is no tomorrow. It's over. Nothing will exist past midnight tonight. Would that be a tragedy? Would anybody care? Would that be a loss to anybody? I know it's a silly question. No one will exist, so who is going to feel a loss? Obviously. If we didn't exist, would it matter? Matter to whom? Okay. If we weren't here, it wouldn't matter to us. So what are we panicking about? Why are we working so hard to clean the air and the environment and make it healthier? And so what? So we can hang around here longer? But then if we don't hang around, it's also good. So if we all disappear tomorrow, that's fine. What's the difference whether we're here or not here? The fear of the end of the universe, of the world. What are we afraid of? Let the world end. No one will care except the Creator. If the world, God forbid, ends today, the loss will be the Creator's loss, not our loss. That is such a powerful picture. The universe is meaningful and essential to its creator. No one else. No one else has a vested interest in the existence of the universe. Here we thought we were the ones. We need to be here. We need the world to continue. Turns out, no, we don't. Not at all. If you come to the world and you say, the world is going to end soon. And you say, well, wait a minute. What do you mean by soon? Does that mean a week from now, a month from now, a year from now? What's the difference? What's the difference? Yeah, it's going to end a week from now. Oh, good. So I have a week to what? That is a sobering thought. This world is not essential to me, but it is essential to the Creator. So is it a surprise that the most meaningful or the only meaningful thing I can do is make the world godly so that it's His world? How can the Creator not be the most invested of all existence? How can God be indifferent to His universe, which we can do without? In many ways, this is dawning on people all over the world. And so now people desperately want a cause. I don't want to go home and make dinner. I don't want to take care of myself. I don't want to promote myself. I don't want to protect myself. I don't want to love myself. Because if myself disappears tomorrow, no one would care. I mean, if all of us disappeared. So what's the point of loving myself? So no, I don't want to love myself. In fact, I don't even want to talk about myself. And that's why I feel like I need to be left alone. Leave me alone. Leave the me out of the conversation because it's not about me or you or us. Unless it serves God's purpose. That there be me and there be you and that we get along. Who benefits? The Creator. And that's why He asks us to get along. That's why He tells us peace is the biggest blessing. To whom? To the Creator. Now, what is good for the Creator, not surprisingly, is probably good for us too. But let's not get confused. We're not here for what is good for us. Because what is good for the Creator is good for us. What is good to us may not be good to the Creator. We have a strange taste and a strange opinion about what's good and not good. I think I'm seeing it, I'm hearing it all over the world. We have been sobered. This world belongs to its Creator. We are guests here to help make the world a divine dwelling place. We think God lives in heaven. God doesn't want to be in heaven. He wants to be on earth. Gave us the instructions on how to bring all holiness, all godliness, and God Himself from heaven down to earth. And then earth becomes more heavenly. So, to break it down again to the very simple ingredients, it's not about me. Never was. It never was. And that's why the more I pamper myself, the more I think about myself, the more I'm conscious of myself, the more miserable I become. Is that not a fact? Are we not thoroughly convinced of that by now? Do you still think if you made a few more dollars, your life would be more meaningful? You think if you became more spiritual, you'd be a better person? If you were perfect in all your abilities and all your talents and in all your knowledge, would you make a better friend, a better wife, a better husband? No, you'd be worse. Because it's not about me. It's about serving my Maker. So in the new year, we pray for only one thing. Only one thing is essential, necessary, and helpful. And that is, may every human being understand, realize who his Creator is, who his Maker is, who his designer is. And if we know who our Creator is, then we can partner with him. Then we will partner with him. When we've had our fill of chaos, all we want is clarity. What does clarity mean? If you don't know who your Maker is, then you're confused. If you don't know who created all of this, then you know nothing useful. If you see a beautiful sunset and you don't know who to thank, and you say foolish things like, thank the lucky stars, thank the universe for being what it is, you're confused. If you know that there's a purpose to your existence, but you don't know whose purpose and what the purpose is, you're very confused. Of course, nothing is going to work in your life because you don't know the first thing about life. What is the first thing about life? It serves a purpose. You're not here just to be here. You're here to make a difference. For whom? For the only one who really cares, the Creator of the universe. So anything you do to make this universe a little more inhabitable, a little more pleasurable, a little more satisfying, you are repairing, elevating, and sanctifying God's creation, which he appreciates infinitely. So this year, the coming year, we're going to get on with the conclusion. Until now, it was all the prep. It was all the removal of the weeds and the thorns and the confusion and the chaos. Unfortunately, some of it is going to carry over into the new year, but it's on its way out. It's petering out. The good news of the coming year is that we're going to get around to the solution. The confusion will be clarified. Things will become sorted out so that everything is clear. The tree of knowledge is the mixture of good and evil, and we will not suffer from that anymore because the good and the evil will no longer be intermingled. A little bit of good in every evil and a little bit of evil in every good. That's a chaotic world. Consequence of eating from the tree. But we've worked long and hard throughout history to sort it out, to separate the good from the bad, the sweet from the bitter, and we're there. It's become very clear. The good is definitely good, the bad is so bad. And so we're going to devote ourselves to the good. We're going to let the bad memories and the bad experiences fade, and the world is just going to continue to be gooder and gooder with each hour, with each day, with each week, each month, and every year forever. There is a plan to this chaos. So God should bless us all for the coming year. Let every creation know its creator. Let every formed being know who formed it. Let every design in the world know who designed it. And it's going to be godly. So don't forget to dip the apple in the honey on the first night of Rosh Hashana. Dip the apple in the honey and make it a really sweet year. We will have lots of good news to share, and we should be generous in sharing it, because when we're good people, we are thrilled by other people's good news. Shana Tova, a good, sweet year.